Hello there and welcome back to Hydroponics Daily, your go-to podcast for everything soilless cultivation. I'm your host, Dr. Russell Sharp, and I have been doing this podcast daily for over 350 days now. It was my New Year's resolution to do one every day of 2025. And so I thought I'd do a podcast-wrapped episode talking about the highs, the lows, the most listened to and least listened to episodes to give you a flavour of what people are interested in hydroponics. So we'll start off with that. Let's look at the top 10 podcast episodes and let's see what people are actually interested in when it comes to hydroponics. And there's a bit of a theme that emerges. That's because number 10 is unlocking the secrets to prevent nutrient lockup in hydroponics. This is a key theme, not so much nutrients, but lockup and pH comes back again and again. It's very high on the list of things that people are interested in. So that's number 10. And number 9 is ICL, white phosphorus and Gaza war crimes. I promoted this one a lot, so we can see why it's high up. I think it would be even higher if I hadn't had to re-record an episode about ICL. Because initially, in my first episode, I said that ICL, the Israeli Chemicals Limited, they don't like that to go by that name so much. I wonder why. When they're selling and marketing. I said that they were selling white phosphorus, which is a chemical that burns skin when it lands on civilian populations. I said they were selling it directly to the Israeli army, and that was not true. They were selling it to the US army, who were then selling it to the Israeli army. And those white phosphorus shells have been found in Lebanon and Gaza. And got a letter from their solicitor saying this is not true, but it is because these US Army documents that say it's true that ICL sell to the US Army for military use. And also there was people on Twitter showing ICL-sponsored soldiers burning down greenhouses. The Gaza 585 were burning greenhouses in southern Gaza. Not a good look for a horticultural company to be burning a greenhouse, and I'm pretty certain disrupting food supplies in a war situation is a war crime. So, yeah, no wonder that's number 9. And number 8 was hydroponic moss cultivation and talking about how researchers were looking at prisoners, people in jail who had plenty of time on their hands to study the very slow growing moss and how moss can be used as hydroponic moss is a good alternative or good potential alternative to wild source moss, which strips natural scientifically important and ecologically important environments in Canada and Falkland Islands and things like that of a keystone species or certainly a valuable species and releases CO2. Number 7 was the absolute bare minimum hydroponic checklist. And that was a great episode. That's one of my favorites. It talks about what you actually need to start hydroponics. There was a couple of episodes that day and the next day. So there was one on the equipment and then there was one on setup and knowledge and things like that. So if you haven't listened to that episode and you're getting into hydroponics, the absolute bare minimum hydroponic checklist was good. We've also got a hydroponic checklist resource work toolkit. If you email me, it's in my email signature. That's a fantastic resource for anyone who's getting into hydroponics. So no wonder that's at number 7. Number 6 was the role of gibberellins in hydroponics. Probably linked to people who are looking at growth regulators and things like that. It's a big issue in legal cannabis and illegal cannabis. They use nasty. In illegal cannabis, a lot of them use legal growth regulators, which are nasty and potentially do a lot of harm to developing fetuses and things like this. So yeah, avoid them if you can. Number 5, massive greenhouse collapse and giveaway. I must have been giving us something away, and that attracted a lot of people there. And there was a big greenhouse collapse in Holland. And many hectares of glasshouse just collapsed. But remarkably, no one was injured, which is, in the health and safety world, is a big red flag. So when no one's injured in a massive industrial accident like that, I think it's been cleared up. And the issue was that they'd removed all the side braces and it went over like a pack of dominoes. Number 4, pH in hydroponics, essential and master tips. So again, like nutrient lockout, pH is a big issue for people. So lots of people listen to that. Number 3, Hydroponics Daily, no Soviet secret labs, just space pizza. I cannot remember what that episode was about. It sounds good though, doesn't it? Soviet secret labs. Space pizza was about it was about Wrexham University getting local schools to grow. Each school grew a different ingredient to make a space pizza. using hydroponics. So a pizza that could be grown in space using hydroponics. So there's some skills we're growing tomatoes, others basil. I don't know what they're doing for the cheese. Wheat for the base. What else do you need? Pepper, I suppose. Can't grow salt. So yeah, that was an interesting episode. Number 2 was Hello Darkness, my microgreens friend. Embracing the dark for bigger, sweeter shoots in microgreens. Did a lot of work on microgreens this year. Really enjoyable. And a lot of people out there listen to podcasts are interested in microgreens. And it was a good learning curve for me because, you're not growing microgreens. You assume that plants in the dark, it's a waste of time. But darkness was crucial to growing a really good crop of microgreens. So if you're interested in microgreens, go and listen to that episode. And then number 1 was why garden centre fertilizers suck, the truth behind the label, where I went in and looked at all the popular brands of fertilizer like Miracle Grow, Phostrogen, Tomorite, and explained what was in them and why these is just rubbish ingredients and overpriced, diluted. A lot of the time it was chloride based, it was extreme pH, it was very, very dilute. You were just buying water in a bottle with a tiny amount of fertilizer. So definitely go and listen to that one. That was in the top listened to podcast of 2025. What was my wrap? What was my favorite event of the year? Possibly the World Congress on Indoor Farming down in Plymouth. That was really good. Shame that one's not being repeated this year. It was a free event. It was really well organized. You could have a trade stand, a little table for free, and it got to go down to Plymouth, which was a nice little drive, long drive. I like Plymouth. It's a nice town. So that was a highlight for me. Green Tech, as always, was a good show. Fruit attraction in Madrid was a bit of a damp squib. I thought it was just a lot of people trying to take fruit from one section to the other, DP World and people like that. Once you've seen one store with a load of oranges on, you've seen them all, really. And there's a few good contacts, but it wasn't really worth the day out in Madrid. Definitely prefer Fruit Logistica or Green Tech. So they were my highlights for events. Probably from a cultivation perspective, the lows were probably just really struggling to grow spring onions. No matter what I did, really struggled to grow spring onions this year. I was hoping to get really good bumper yields. What did we grow that was really well? Grow well. Tigerella tiger tomatoes. They were a success. Grew them early on indoor, did a hybrid growing technique and started them off in January. And by the time spring came, I was growing loads and loads of tomatoes, giving them away. My kids loved the tiger stripes on them. So yeah, that was a big win. Some of our customers had some really big wins this year. Start of the year, our hop grower, Jim, he won Hop Grower of the Year because he'd used some of our amino acids, humic, seaweed, and silicon and protected his hops when at the end of 2024, when everyone else was getting hail damage and rain damage and they were rotting, and his grew really well, established really well. And so he won the award for Hop Grower of the Year, and he was very impressed and very happy. So that's probably a really good win for one of our growers. None of our vertical farming customers went bust, and probably all of us feel they're going to love 2026 because a lot of their competitors have gone by the wayside. So yeah, that's been good in a way. A low has been the UK sort of grow shop hydroponic sector, which has really suffered this year. Lots of shops have gone out of business, and that's been bad for the community. So that's probably a low for hydroponics. Hopefully that'll turn around next year. Predictions for next year, I think probably more of the same certainly for the first 6 months. I think wait and see on these electrical charges, which I talked about in a previous episode for the vertical farming. A lot of people might just shut their doors when it comes to that. What else can we say for 2026? I always say I'm not going to create any new products. I'm just going to focus on selling the ones I have because it costs money to introduce a new product. It costs thousands and thousands of pounds, even if you don't have to register it. But I always come up with a crazy idea for a new product. So watch this space. I would imagine there's probably going to be 2 or 3 new products from Utrema. Nothing in the pipeline. Maybe something around controlled release fertilizer. We want to take on ICL with their Osmocote products, which is basically just throwing microplastics into your garden and into your plant pots, which is not cool. So we want to come up with a biodegradable controlled release fertilizer. That's probably the priority for 2026 from a Utrema perspective. And then looking forward as well, we're not going to be doing an absolutely daily podcast. It's not going to be every single day. Still keep the name Hydroponics Daily because I've got mugs and everything printed, t-shirts printed with the name on. But we'll be doing fewer podcasts, but probably linking it to a YouTube video and a video episode, and probably doing more longer episodes. See how that fits with the algorithm. See if we go up or down the charts doing that, and see if we get more interest or less interest doing that one. It's been really successful this year, though. We've got hundreds of thousands of downloads and loads of customers, and new growers have reported back that they really love the podcast. So that's been really good. Often with podcasts, the statistics are really rubbish. You can't track them like you can videos or other sorts of social media. But when you speak to people, that's the feedback you get, is they really engage with it. So I'm really happy with how the podcast has gone this year. Had a low recently where the health and safety executive, a bit like I don't know what it's called in America, but basically they said that we can't sell our auxin concentrate anymore because they considered it a pesticide. So that's probably going to be export only, that product. It's a shame because obviously it's an innovative product. We're the only people producing a super concentrate liquid. We're the only people who can do it because we've got the expertise in solubilization technology. But yeah, great for the UK government to stamp down hard on a medium-sized company that is innovating. So, I'll take that one because, don't want to be breaking the law, do we? And so we carry on, we roll with the punches, and we go again with new products. So yeah, I'm more than happy to take that one on the chin. We've had some unusual stories in the news locally about illegal cannabis growers. We had one grower, we're based in Daventry currently, Utrema, and we had one illegal cannabis grower who rather ingeniously set up a grow facility under the local motorway freeway. And yes, don't know how he powered it, don't know how he grew the plants under there, but that is an impressive bit of ingenuity and engineering. He was a mile away from the nearest road. Local farmer helped them out, apparently. But yeah, under a motorway, can you imagine the noise? It wasn't a bridge. It was like a cutting underneath the motorway. I think it's probably near a canal or something like that. But yeah, absolute madness. And then we had a casino in Northampton, which is the local town. It's not a city, the county town. And there was a casino with 7,000 cannabis plants in it. So that was a crazy bust by the police. Northamptonshire has some crazy illegal cannabis farms. There was one in Kettering, another town nearby, and that was in a bingo hall. And that was next door to a police station. So yeah, they must have had their extraction carbon filters on point for a long time. But that eventually failed and they got busted and everyone got arrested. So yeah, Northampton is the ingenious county for illegal cannabis growers. Don't try this at home, kids, obviously. Trying to think of any new products that have been launched away from Utrema that are interested. There's always a new seaweed. There's always a new tricontinol product and things like this. There's always a new fan or filter, but nothing stands out. What do you think has been the big technological breakthrough in hydroponics or vertical farming or indoor growing this year? I'm trying to think. I can't think of one. I'd say the big wheel type growing facility at Dyson that was revealed. That was very, very cool. About the size of 2 double-decker buses. That was some supreme piece of technology just to look at. Awesome stuff. So not a product, but certainly a piece of hydroponic technology to look at and wonder at. That was so fair play to Dyson Farming for that. The people who make the vacuum cleaners. I'd say the current development in AI. Obviously, there's AI controllers now that are on the market. They're a big win in 2025, and just the ability to research and find information on hydroponics that you couldn't get from just a simple Google search. So, the nuances, it's great pulling data together and evaluation of different things via AI and new ideas, the ability of people to come up with new ideas and find new ideas and sort of test them through AI without getting their hands dirty. That's been a big win for 2025 and will continue into 2026. So yeah, that's been my wrap of hydroponics for 2025. I hope you've enjoyed it. If I've missed anything, let me know and I'll do a follow-up. If you've liked this episode, then please give us a Apple Podcast review, especially if you've been listening all year. If you're not on Apple, just make sure you follow the podcast and check out utrema.co.uk for some amazing products that would win Product of the Year in any award for horticulture that wasn't rigged. I did nominate us for Podcast of the Year for, what was it, the Garden Media Guild, but they decided that we weren't worthy of inclusion, and all the other podcasts that were nominated are not even on the podcast charts, and we are. So screw them. We won't be nominating ourselves again in 2026. But if you run a podcast award that is fair and based on the content and the value given to growers, then let me know. That's been Hydroponics Daily for today. I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.